Sorry. Okay. Hold on. Ow. Okay. Hello. So I am watching T Noir's videos, and well, I was just thinking. I was watching her video, the hoe phase and sexual performativity, and I'm just in the beginning of it, but I was remembering a thought, and I thought that I should come on here and talk about it because I haven't done. I haven't been filming videos in a while, so I just thought that I would come on here and talk. So, anyways, I wanted to talk today about sex and kissing and all things and the queer community or my relationship with it as a bisexual person. And just, I say I'm bisexual, I say I'm queer. Those are the two that I really connect with. And how all of that fits together. And blah. So, anyways, I was just thinking about the fact that I'm not, like, for me, so I've had 4 sexual experiences in my life so far with other people. And uh, my first one was not, none of them have been great. I've never had a positive, no, okay. I've never had good sex in all stages. So, in terms of receiving, like in terms of oral and then in terms of penetrative, never had anything good. Now, I've had positive experiences in terms of I didn't feel assaulted, attacked, things like that. But that's only happened once. Well, not once, but that's only happened in one circumstance, like in one relationship. But in the others, it was consensual. So, anyways, what I wanted to talk about was how it was just maybe, I guess I'm not even like, I'm just working through things. So I feel like, and I've spoken about this with my sisters, as I usually do with most conversations that I end up having on here. And I was just thinking about how it might be helpful for maybe more of us to admit that we are not great at sex. And I think that is scary to say, especially as a woman, because it's just kind of assumed. So it's assumed for queer people, at least from what I've seen, from my personal perspective, I've seen that it's assumed that queer people are great at sex and they're having great sex. And then, especially if you're in a same sex relationship, and then women are good at sex, all forms. And especially amongst queer women and amongst queer women who have vaginas, that we know the vagina quite well and we know what to do, and it's just a natural talent, and there's no such thing as being, you can't be bad. How can you be bad? Because you have one. For those who do have them, for those people who have them, because it's not just women. But yeah, and I was just thinking, because now I'm at this point in my life where I've had sex with men and women, and men and women, because it's only been one woman. But to my surprise, it was very shocking to me, and I don't want to generalize because I guess I've only had one experience, and then with a woman, and then 3 experiences with 3 different men. So and they haven't all been penetrative. It's been different experiences of sex, but to me, it's giving. I haven't met somebody yet who knows what they're doing, and that's to say that I also don't really know what I'm doing. And so the first way that I encountered that maybe there's a lie going on in just the general society is that I've never enjoyed kissing somebody. Every time I've kissed somebody, it's been wretched. And it's been wretched before the tongue decided to enter the scenario, which is then it just gets worse. But even without the tongue, I found that kissing, I'm somebody who knows that because I'm going to admit it, I was one of those kids that was kissing their pillow, kissing their hand, practicing kissing. I've always been engaging in learning about my own sexual pleasures and enjoyments. I've never veered away from that. As a kid, I was always into that, and it wasn't through the mindset of, ooh, I want to explore my sexuality, because I didn't even know what that meant. I was just having fun and daydreaming and exploring my imagination. But I was somebody who would do that. And yeah. So I know what I like when it comes to kissing. And I have never, since I began to do the act, experienced anything close to what I enjoy. And it's very hard to even get people to be open to what I enjoy is something more slow and soft, slow and like passionate, but not like, but like focused, but not like intruding. It's gentle. And I find that with a lot of the sexual experiences that I've had, and maybe this is because I've never been in love with anybody that I've had sex with. So I've never made love, and I've never had a sexual experience with somebody that I felt really cared about me emotionally, and was therefore very interested in taking care of me and respecting me. So that's probably a part of the case. And when I get there, then hopefully, I'll have a different experience. But I figure for the girls out there who are suffering and struggling and we're in the streets, not by choice, but simply by fact, that, we deserve some conversation too. So for those of us who are just out here dealing with people who probably don't really care about us, and I'm not doing that anymore. I've gotten to a point where I understand that celibacy is for me until I meet somebody who is my soulmate. Honestly, it's giving that I'm not doing anything until I meet the person I'm marrying, or just spending the rest of my life with. That's honestly the wave I'm on. But anyways, yeah. So every time, okay, what I found is that a lot of the sexual experiences I've had, it's almost like the sex without the intimacy. And it's interesting because for me, I don't separate the two. And for me, intimacy is different. It exists in different realms. Like there's intimacy in terms of like relationship and like having a romantic relationship, a deep relationship, a soul connection, that type of intimacy. But then I also just embed intimacy into sex naturally. I can't imagine sex that's not intimate. Or at least I couldn't have imagined that before I started having sex. And then I realized that there is such thing as very unintimate sex, and it's in a way that's so strange because it's emotional, but it's the other end of emotions, not the one that you would associate. It's very cold. And even though you want to connect, there's a block. And I found that really comes through in the way that people kiss. And I don't know what it is. It's just very, like, hard and competitive and rough and dominating. And I bet it does come from the porn industry and how we've all been influenced by watching people kiss and things like that. But yeah, and when I've tried to speak up and, add in my own flavor and try and switch things up, it's been hard because I've realized that it makes the way that I like to kiss puts people in a vulnerable position. And I think it really invites vulnerability in a way that I'm not sure people want. And so that's been really interesting for me. And that's been difficult because I found that it's very hard to feel connected at all if I don't feel like there's that intimacy. And I don't even have to, we don't have to be in love, but it's just, there's this, I don't know what it is. It's this element that's missing. And I've noticed it in everything, and I guess I wish that I was having a conversation with someone so that we could build off of each other, but hopefully somebody will see this and understand what I'm saying, and then tell me if they've also experienced something like this, or if he's experiencing something differently. But yeah, is anybody else noticing, or does anybody have like a different experience with kissing, or understand what I mean when I talk about this specific type of intimacy that I just thought was always a part of sex? No matter if you were having casual sex or if it was sex related to your business, or if it was sex between a partner, like somebody you were in love with. I always thought there was just this innate intimacy. And as a kid, when I would explore my own sexuality, that intimacy was very present, I guess, between myself. But I have found that in my interactions with other people, so far in my life, it's not there. And when I try to bring that in through the different ways that I try to express that physically, it's like, yeah, it's like asking somebody to be vulnerable with you. And I found that people really struggle to do that. And so that's been really interesting to me. And so, why was I talking about this? Well, I don't know. I guess I was just talking about this because I think that I was thinking that it's just important that maybe we all, especially as young people, because I don't think there should be this expectation that we know what we're doing sexually, because we haven't had enough experience yet, or at least I haven't had enough experience yet. I'm 22, and I started being sexually active when I was 19 or 20. So yeah, 2 or 3 years I've been sexually engaged with other people. And so I haven't had enough experience at all to know what I'm doing and to be able to give like a generalizing context or anything like that, or statement. But I do think it's important that we feel comfortable sharing things like this and being honest about not being good at things. And so I thought maybe I'd just share my own experiences just to open up the conversation. And I was just thinking because, well, there's like one aspect of not being good at sex in terms of not being great at speaking up for yourself. And that was something that I struggled with, and probably am still struggling with, but because I haven't been with anybody in a very long time, I guess not very long, but in a while now, it's not something I've had to confront, but I guess it shows up in other areas of my life. But I haven't always been the greatest, and I'm still working on being able to speak up for myself and what I desire and what I want and what feels good. I'm getting more comfortable with that. And that was something that I had to deal with my first sexual interaction, because I just received. Well, I was kissing, and the kissing was really bad, but it was my first time really ever kissing someone, so I also didn't know I just thought that was it, and I was like, maybe I'm bad at this, and so I was just kind of confused. But then I received oral sex for the first time, and it was very painful. It really hurt, and this was from a guy, and it hurt so much that I thought I was bleeding. When I got home, like, I was worried that I was bleeding, that he had torn something, and it was really interesting because I'm even thinking about the words that we use to describe sex, like when it comes to, like, in songs. And especially when it comes to genitalia, female genitalia, there's, it's just like the sucking, like the really hard sucking, and like holding on, and like I don't know, just I feel like, okay, even with sex toys, I feel like there is a very specific experience of pleasure that almost all sex toys, especially for people who have vaginas, are catered to. I can't speak for someone who has a penis because I don't have one. But, sorry. So, hopefully somebody speaks up for you guys. But, yeah, I feel like, because I have only experienced maybe two sex toys in my life. One was the bullet, and the other was the magic wand, that have actually been successful in making me feel good and not being stressful and scary and like dangerous and a hazard. The rest of them have not felt good. And even with those ones, I've had to be very careful because very quickly it can slip into being painful. And with some some part of me, and especially even in terms of lube, because I guess I would consider lube a part of, the sex toy industry. It feels like it was built for a very specific body type or like pleasure type, because I don't like the feeling. I don't like the watery feeling of lube, like this like rubbery slipping energy. I don't like that, like the rubber experience. I don't like that. And I enjoy the natural the natural feeling of what's produced when you're wet. Like I like that, but I haven't ever found any lube that has that texture or that consistency. And then with a lot of vibrators, it's really hard. They can be very intense and painful. And I don't like it can almost feel like it's like, yeah, like you're gonna cut yourself or like give yourself a burn. I don't know. Anyways, so what was I talking about? I'm kind of hopping all over the place. Who knows if I'll actually post this because it's giving kind of random. But I guess I just wanted to talk. Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about the queer community. So then, okay. So one, there's assumption that I've seen this assumption that queer people are always having great sex, and I don't know. I'm not in queer people's business. I only have my own business to go off of, and again, I do wonder if there is one experience of pleasure that dominates, because we all now know that pleasure is very complex, just as uh, everybody's experience of the world is complex, emotions are complex, feeling is complex, pleasure is complex, and there is no just one experience. And I was going through this as I was writing an article for my university magazine when I was in university, and I was writing about how I was convinced that I had never had an orgasm because I was never able to reach this like pinnacle that everybody talks about when they talk about the female orgasm. And then as I was doing my research, I found out from this other article that there's I think 3 different types of orgasms that they've identified within people who have vaginas so far. And one of them is called mini orgasmic, and it's when your orgasm is it goes in waves. And so it's not this huge peak, but there are peaks and valleys. It's more like that, you know? It's a flow. And so they tend to last a bit longer, but you don't get as high as the orgasm that we all know and love, you know, that we've seen in all the films and we see in porn, and a lot of people have actually spoken truth to and represented in their own experience, have felt represented in their own experiences. We know that orgasm, but there is one that is a little bit less of an extreme in, you know, volume, but is still very pleasurable and is more of a wave. And I think that that's the type of orgasm that I have. And it was very relieving to discover that there are other women who are just, who also have this experience, but it was hard also because it's difficult to accept, and not even really for myself, but I think from others. It's difficult to accept that maybe we're not going to get to this big peak and that that's okay, and it doesn't mean that your orgasm is less than. And part of me, even with myself, there's this pressure to just like work harder or keep trying or like be open-minded and like, you know, maybe something will come along that will bring me there. And the acceptance that, you know, my version is good too, I think it'll take a while because I have not seen it enough in other women to know that to feel like I'm not lying to myself. And sorry if I'm saying women so much when I do mean to be more, obviously I understand that it's not just women, it's just my brain just speaking out. So, try and hold that nuance there. But yeah, it's hard to feel valid in your sexual experience, especially of pleasure. And in the relationship where I did experience sexual assault, one of the problems, and I wrote that article about the different experiences of orgasm, and I was writing, the original prompt for the article was that I had never had an orgasm. But then as I was doing my research, I was like, wait, well, maybe I have. I've just had one that's never been spoken about, or I haven't seen spoken about very often. And it was during that time that I was writing that article that I was in a sexually abusive relationship. It wasn't sexually abusive the whole time, and not every sexual experience was sexual abuse, but it did occur. And it was during that time when and I finished writing that article, and I shared it with my boyfriend at the time and everything. And it was really interesting because I felt with him a huge pressure to reach that orgasm, that pinnacle that we see in the movies, that you see in porn, and that I've never experienced. And I wasn't experiencing any pleasure at all in any of my sexual interactions with him. But, I was trying not to fake it, because I had faked it before in my previous two interactions with men, and I really didn't want to do that anymore. So I didn't want that, especially because this was my first relationship. I didn't want the standard for my sexual pleasure to be around faking it, especially because I was in a phase where I really wanted to explore my sexuality when shared with other people. So I was really excited to be in a relationship because I was excited to have sex. And I was excited to be able to do that safely and build intimacy with somebody and be able to have really great experiences. It was like, it was a process of self-discovery that I was really excited about. And so I really wanted to honor myself by not faking it, because I knew that it would ruin it for me. It would really suck, and it didn't feel good. And I am not one of those people that judges anyone for faking an orgasm, because I personally don't think that there's any shame in it. I understand why people do it. I understood why I did it. And it's very difficult to explain the pressure in that situation, especially if you are a people pleaser and if you've grown up with that problem, and I have, and you've grown up with boundary issues. It's very, very difficult to understand how complicated, the feeling is of wanting to emotionally take care of someone, and the ties that has to like sexual pleasure and somebody doing good and being good and wanting to validate them. And it's a whole thing. And I think it's really shitty to judge people for, what they choose to do in that moment, especially because it's a very vulnerable moment and it's scary. And oftentimes people don't take your initial answer for the truth. They dig and they push. And so sometimes you just end up saying whatever you need to get out of the situation and move on. And yeah, so I am not one to judge somebody for faking it. But I was trying to put myself in a better circumstance sexually, and so I didn't want to fake it. So I tried really hard not to, but there were definitely many, many times where I did, just to get over the sexual experience, because it was painful and it was giving traumatic, or I was disassociating, or I didn't feel comfortable anymore. And I guess I didn't feel safe, but I say that very cautiously, because it's not like I didn't feel safe in a way where I felt like I was going to be hurt. So it's a different type of safety. And I do want to be clear about that, because I don't know, that's a shaky line, and I don't want to insinuate anything that's not true. So it's not like I felt in danger, but I didn't feel safe in a different kind of way. But anyways, well, how did I get over here? But I was talking about that because in that relationship, I didn't experience any pleasure, but I did understand that the mini orgasmic experience was not going to be enough for that other person, and it was not going to be fulfilling enough, and they wanted to see me reach this pinnacle that I was not going to reach, because I've come to accept and understand that is not my experience of pleasure. And it's so crazy, because even now I can still feel the temptation to be like, oh, but maybe you just haven't had the right experience yet. And it's like, well, no. My experience of pleasure is good. It's great. It's just not that. And that's okay. But it's hard, I think, to accept that. And I'm saying that that's probably to myself, because it is hard to accept. But anyways, so What am I talking about? I was talking about the fact that um, it's okay to admit that we haven't had great sexual experiences. Oh, yeah, and that we're not great at sex. I do not think by any means that that I'm a great that I'm great at sex. I think I'm a good sexual partner because I listen and I am open to learning and I am creative and imaginative and explorative. Um, but I'm not very talented. In my opinion, I'm not naturally I have not seen that I am naturally gifted at anything yet. I don't know. Like maybe if I'm in a space where I feel super comfortable and I feel like we're really vibing, but I've never felt like I was really vibing with the person that I ended up having a sexual experience with. So I've never gotten to see myself in a natural state. And I think that that's because a lot of my sexual experiences also have not been I've never been in flow while I was like having sex. It's always been very I'm thinking a lot, I'm nervous, I'm scared. Not scared like in a danger way, but scared because I'm doing something I haven't done very often and it's very vulnerable. And I want to make sure the other person feels good, and so I'm thinking all these things, self conscious, um, and yeah, uh, but um, but yeah, and I think that if I was in a state of flow, then maybe the natural gifts that we all have because we're human beings. So at some in some way, we have to be naturally good at sex because it's part of the way that we survive as a species. Um, and I do wonder if pleasure is inherent to that. Give me one second. Hello? Yeah? Yeah? What's the password? Um, hmm. Okay, well, if it worked at the house, then it's going to work. Maybe you need, probably, have you tried to reset it like a few different times and then do the password? Well, oh, I wish I knew what it looked like. Well, let me Google. It's a password lock. Um, oh, factory set combination is 000. Oh, so then how to reset? How to reset with letters. It's probably like AAA or ZZZ. Hold on. Um, um, wait, is this the one? Oh, I really. But is it spinning the lock in a circle or is it like on the bottom? Okay. What is master lock default code? Yes, I would. I had a feeling you would. Lock. And why in the world? It would have been see ya. Oh, okay. Oh, maybe the password is lock. Like the reset password. LOCK. I don't know. Hold on. Let's see. Um, no, that is crazy. Rest. Rest. Um, I would. Dang. How many times have you tried it? Um, uh, no, that would be crazy. Hold on. Um, wait, okay. Try the reset. Four ways to reset a master lock. And it's not with the key. It has. Sometimes you just have you like tried to move the letters and then move them back and make sure they're all like in line with the thingy? If it opened before, it's gonna open again. It's just oh, so then maybe it's just jammed. Maybe you really have to tug on it. What do you have outside of that locker? Oh my god. Okay. Mm, yeah, you should ask them if they have a lock. What's it called? A crowbar or break lock breaker. Okay. Okay, bye. Love you too. Damn, it sucks. Um, probably text dad. Yeah. Okay. Where was I? I don't remember. Uh, I also have a full plate of dinner here that I have not eaten because I've been chitty chatting. The thing about this fish is it has bones all over it, everywhere, in places you wouldn't expect to have bones. Okay. Anyways, um, girl, I don't know what I was saying. I think that I was just saying I think I'm literally just spilling you guys all of my business. I think that's literally what I was doing. I was just talking about my business. Because, yeah, well, what was I saying? Because what was the point, girl? The point was to be vulnerable. Yeah, because we just need to be more honest. And you know what? I'm saying we, but maybe I literally just am talking to myself. You know, why not just share that some of us have not gotten to this incredible place? And if you have, congratulations. But also, like, you're going to get there when you have like this bond with somebody that really appreciates the exploration process of sex. Sex is meant to be a practice that's explored and you learn about it. It's a part of your humanity. It's a part of human nature. However you experience that, because I recognize that there are people who are asexual. So we all have a different understanding and interpretation of what sex means with our bodies and with our personal emotional connections to that. But it's meant to be something that's learned and explored, and you don't need to be naturally talented at it. But also because the way that sex is defined right now is so commercialized and so unnatural that it's not something that you would naturally be good at, because it's not natural to you. It's something that is synthetic. Sex is synthetic in this era. Synthetic sex. I might literally name this video that. And so there's no reason to feel bad about yourself if you're not good at it, because how are you supposed to? You're learning a system. You're learning about systemic synthetic sex. And you're learning how to be a student of it. But I don't want to be a student of it. And so part of that is breaking out of it and saying that I don't fit in. I don't know how to do it. I don't fit in. I don't know how to do that. I'm not good at it. And that's okay. And I would much rather be good at something that is more in flow and more natural. And but if you are good at it, that's also okay. And if you enjoy it, then go ahead. But I hope you're enjoying it, because what I'm also feeling like is like, are people enjoying this? Because I just have not had a sexual experience outside of sex with myself that I have enjoyed. And I just feel like out of 4 times, I should have experienced one experience that's been good. 4 times and I failed every time? I feel like that's a bit intense. Like, that makes it seem like sex is not something I should be doing, because it feels like it's not good for me, because I'm not getting anything out of it, because I'm not having a good time. And I really struggle to believe that the other person is having a good time if I'm not, because this is a shared process. This is community. This is it's a relationship. No matter what, we're collabing here. And so I really struggle when, like with the men that I've had sex with, where I'm like, you had fun? Really? And it's like, and I don't want I'm not looking for my ego to be fed here, because I want the truth. And the truth is, if I'm not having a good time, how are you? Because also, so much of the pleasure, especially when penetrative sex is in discussion, from what I understand, is also about the wetness. And my body does not, you have to understand it. You have to put in the work in order for me to get wet. Like, it doesn't happen very easily with me. I can't just turn it on. And I don't know if other people can, which is why I'm giving this disclaimer, because that's like a problem for me during sexual experiences I've had, is that there ain't nothing, nothing's like an ocean. There's no river running. It's dry, desert land. And I feel bad about that sometimes, but then I'm like, why? Because, girl, you're not receiving pleasure, and your body's like, these hips don't lie. And good for my body for saying that. But also should be known that wetness is not always a sign of pleasure. And that's important to say, because there are experiences where people have been assaulted and they felt, and there was a lot of struggle and shame because they orgasmed or because they were wet. And none of those things are a telltale sign of pleasure. That is just a thing. It's just how your body works. My body doesn't do that. In the experiences I've had so far, other people's bodies have done that in experiences where it hasn't been positive. And so that's also to say, because I think about one of the narratives that's really popular in hip hop right now, and in just like women's music right now, which is like talking about our vaginas and how they're wet like an ocean. And I think that could also be brought into conversation, because I just think with a lot of these scenarios, like, are you experiencing pleasure even though there's signs that you are? Because these signs aren't even legitimate. Once again, giving into this idea that it's synthetic sex, it's systemic, it's not actually natural. And not to say that those women's experiences aren't actually true and aren't actually pleasurable. I'm just wondering. I'm just throwing questions out there, but I don't know their experience and I don't know their bodies. Um, so yeah, but um, yeah, and then my experience of having sex with a woman was not positive either, and uh, it was yeah, and there was that block in intimacy, and I didn't know any. I was lost in terms of trying to navigate a vagina for the first time. I was very scared. It's not my own body, so I can't just apply my own rules, and it was a new experience, and I was nervous, and there was no like natural, woman's intuition that just set in and told me what to do. Like I didn't know what to do. And neither did the other person, even though they've had sex with women before. And so that was also a very revealing thing to me because it was like, okay, so everybody is lying. Everybody is lying. And I appreciate that it's scary to admit that, maybe you don't know what you're doing, yeah. But I think it would be nice if we were all just a little bit more vulnerable and honest about it. And I had to, swallow my own pride in hearing that I was not good. No, I did not give any pleasure to anybody else in that experience, anybody else, and to her in that experience. But then it was also like, okay, well, but then neither did you. Nobody had fun here. And that is so hard to say. And it's so like, bleh. But it's just the truth. And we just have to be honest. We just have to say it, even as scary as it is to say. And yeah. But that's life. And it goes on, and good thing, because one day there will be an experience that's absolutely incredible, but it just hasn't happened yet. And I also don't think I've given anybody any incredible experiences. I don't think anybody's going to be referencing me from any of my past experiences and being like, she was, like I would be shocked. I honestly would be shocked. I'd be very shocked, because I just can't imagine that I've done anything very substantial. And it's just, we've got to be able to say that. We have to be able to say it. Or maybe I have to be able to say that. I'm like trying to push this onto all of you so that I can pretend like we're in community. And maybe we are in community about this, but even if not, I have to be able to say that. And I can admit it. But anyways, I feel like I should stop chit-chatting because, first of all, I need to eat my dinner, my lovely, lovely dinner that I spent a lot of time cooking. And I don't have anything else to say because I feel like I've been rambling, and I can't even imagine that I'm going to post this because it's literally just me talking about my business for no reason. For no reason. Cutting checks for no reason. I had to leave him. Surround yourself with protective energy. I am surrounded by protective energy. Because why the hell is that the thing? Take time to reflect. Have I said everything I need to say? Oh, go see Avatar. It's such a fantastic film. Made me cry. Made me cry. Wiped my eyes. Dried my tears through lonely years. Made me cry and I wiped my eyes. Dried my tears through lonely years. Made me cry, wiped my eyes. Dried my tears through lonely years. Made me cry and I wiped my eyes and I dried my tears through the lonely years, and I made me cry and I wiped my eyes and I dried my tears through the lonely years. Made me cry and I wiped my eyes and I dried my tears through the lonely years. Ooh, oh, ooh, oh. Okay, the last thing I am going to say is that being celibate has been very positive for me because I have gotten to go on many, many, many journeys with myself and with the earth. And can I just say that it's so fun being on a very open and loving and caring spiritual journey at the same time as this celibate journey, and also being a very carefree girl and very loving and open of free love and all that, because there's just so much lack of judgment. And in this lack of judgment of myself, I have gotten to have some pretty I have gotten to really, explore and have a lot of fun and just release the wild within. And I've done that in many different ways, but I just want to say that, if being celibate, part of that for me, I'm not celibate when it comes to pleasure between myself, but just with other people. So it's been fun getting to explore what I enjoy, and it's opened up my creativity because I've realized the trauma that porn has caused me, and so now I'm really trying to get off that because it's just not good for my health. It's not good for my mental health, and I don't think it's good for my physical health. In the porn industry that I've experienced, I do like Belesa, which is like this porn website and production company run by women, I think, and it's like run by porn stars and like by sex workers, and I don't know, by like sex workers, and it's more human and more honest and more, it's just less production-y with some of them. And then others are like very cinematic, but like more romantic, and I don't know. So that is a website that I think is pretty good. I don't know all the ethical stuff, honestly, so, do your research, but that's one that I like. Pornhub is it's really dodgy, and you can easily end up somewhere that's not good and doesn't feel good, and spiritual sexual violence is a very real thing. And I think that a lot of us be getting sexually assaulted and sexually attacked by these porn videos because some of them are really, they've got difficult energy that they're dealing with, because the circumstances in which those people are experiencing sex are not always very positive. And it's just, we have to be honest about that. And a lot of us, we don't know the origin. We don't really know the context. We don't know if it was all consensual. And it's hard to admit that because, especially if you have an addiction, which I did have at one point to porn, it's hard to admit the reality of what the porn industry is in many, many ways, and what the sex work industry is in many, many ways, because you don't want to be held responsible and you don't want to have to look at it, and you don't want to remove people's autonomy, sex workers' autonomy. But it is very important to also acknowledge that at the same time that we're having this sexual liberation movement and the sexual revolution, supposedly, we're also at the height of sex trafficking and this new form of, it's not a new form, but we're at the height of human trafficking, sex trafficking, organ donating, organ harvesting, slavery in just this world. So it's not insignificant that that's happening next to each other, and also at the height of hypersexualizing. Not the height. I mean, this has always been a thing, but a lot of predatory media in weird ways. I mean, Euphoria, Riverdale. So, yeah, I don't know. But anyways, beyond that, I was just saying that it's nice being celibate during this time of my sexual exploration time, and also my spiritual experience, because I'm just getting to have fun and explore things in a very spiritual way. And it really does expand like my experience of pleasure. Like, I've been able to have experiences with Tantra, what I think is Tantra, and connecting with water and the elements in ways that are also giving myself pleasure. And I've actually experienced like the physical signs that I recognize within my own body that I am having a pleasure-filled experience without even needing physical touch. And it's really been because of this openness to sexuality mixed with spirituality that I've been experiencing. And I think that that's part of the gift within spiritual sex work that I really want to explore. The portion that's really, really empowering and really exciting and positive, and also teaches us more about the earth and how much of a freak and loving, free love kind of girl, gal, pal, person that our earth is, and how awesome it is to be connected in that way, and how much sex is more than just this thing to create life and this thing to have between people in a sweaty hot mess, but it's also this very it's many things, and it's all awesome when consensual and loving and happy and joyful and all those good things. So yeah, I guess this video is what it is. I don't know if I'm going to post this, to be completely honest, but I'll just pull one more card, really just to validate that I'm done speaking, because sometimes I wonder if there's anything I haven't said that I should say, but I don't feel like there is, and I am hungry, so I should eat my food, but we'll just see if one more card, okay, comes out. Winter keeps coming out. Take care of your needs. That's probably them being like, girl, go. Honor your inner knowing. Let go of the need to be right. Okay, yeah, I'm done. Bye.